Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I have a lovely project for you. It is a scrappy heart using scraps of fabric. In my case I am using mini charm squares, a partial pack that I got. I think these are Kath Kidston charm squares, I'm not sure. A tea towel and I am going to show you first of all how to make this scrappy patchwork heart using a product that makes it super easy and means you don't have to do English paper piecing. And so the product is Lite Steamer Seam 2. I'm not at all affiliated with it, but I have been having so much fun playing with it. And I've used that recently in my collage of my vase and flowers. I'll also show you how you can add slow stitching detail to the heart and then how you can assemble it with another smaller heart using the same method into a lovely little pouch on a tea towel. So this is just a regular tea towel. It's an unused one, not a vintage one. It's just, I think, an old shop stock one. And I thought it would make a lovely weight for a project pouch. I don't think it needs sort of blanket or felt or anything to kind of give it structure. It's got a nice structure. It's a really nice thick, I think it's a linen or a linen cotton blend with then this lovely rose print on it. So yeah, when I show you the heart on the front, I'll also talk to you about how you can adapt it to a smaller scale as well. And I'll share some of the things I've learned because this was just something that I came up with. I was playing with my charm squares and I thought, yeah, I'm sure if I assemble them, I might be able to get a heart type shape, and it did work. But I did learn some things in the process too. So first step first. Pick out your scraps of fabric that you want to use. So as I mentioned, I have taken charm squares, and in this case I have folded them in half. I'll show you what I did. Folded them half, corner to corner, and then I have cut them. And so sometimes I would do it on the crease, other times I would just cut it like this. And you get a pretty evenly cut half charm square. And so for this size heart, that's the size that you're going to want to use. I know I'll get some people asking what size are my hearts. So I think they're about just a little bit over 6 centimeters. Yeah, probably a 6.2 centimeters. But basically the mini charm square size is what I'm using. So not the larger charm squares, the ones that are called mini charm. And then you get your steam a seam, which comes like this. It has, I'll show you with this, it's got a bottom layer, it's got a medium, the middle layer, which is the adhesive component, and then it's got another plastic layer on the top. And so what you want to do when you want to lay down your fabrics is peel off one of the sides, it doesn't matter which, just whichever comes away, and then you're going to stick down your fabric, trying to obviously, when you're doing it properly, line it up against both sides evenly, and then you sort of work your way across, and obviously you'd have more than just this little scrap of the steamer seam here. But you'd work your way across, leave just probably a tiny little bit distance between them, just so that the fabrics aren't essentially overlapping, and then you can just work your way up the piece, obviously with making sure steamer seams all the way underneath it. I'm just showing you on this little strip here. Once you've done that, you then want to iron over it from both sides, not with steam or anything at this stage, just with a really hot iron. Press it down. Well, probably not like ironing like that, but actually pressing down, and that will activate the temporary adhesive, which will hold your fabric onto the base piece, where you'll still have your plastic, and then your fabric will be stuck down here, and that's essentially what we've got here. We've got fabric on the top, we've got the adhesive layer in the middle, and we've got this piece of plastic on the bottom. So I'll put this away so it doesn't get in our way. So once you've done that, so I just arranged them as you can see up here. Sometimes they're not totally even, that's fine. These are all going to be cut apart anyway. I'm going to use my paper scissors, not my good fabric scissors. And so the next step is to cut your pieces. And if you do have a tiny bit of overlap, just try and so you're just going to cut them all out. This heart takes 20 triangles, essentially 20 half charm squares, so you need 10 charm squares, but it's nice to kind of get a mix, so that's why I decided to make 2 pouches, 2 hearts, and I'm going to send one away to a special friend. So yeah, there's a few steps in the process. And the great thing with this scrappy heart as well is if it's not totally precise, if you kind of get one of your triangles not cut perfectly, it's really not going to matter because we're going for the scrappy effect. And as I've mentioned before, it's hard to find sort of vintage quilts in Australia because I know overseas, like in America, it's a lot easier, I think. And so this is a way to get that lovely sort of vintage quilty look on your pieces, but with new fabrics, but retro look fabrics. These ones I might have put slightly too close together, but that's fine. And you'll notice with my charm squares as well, I just left their little raggedy sort of edges, not raggedy, but pinking sheared edges on them because I don't mind that look as well. It's obviously not on all sides because where it's got the cut surface, it won't have those. So what I'll do is I'll move away this one for now, but we will come back to that because that's what we'll be stitching on. I'm not going to use the hot iron on this one, and I need to cut these pieces out as well. And so yeah, it's great with these sorts of projects. You can use some of your smaller pieces of steamer seam that might be left over from another project. That's what I did with this little piece. Now let me put my other bits of the charm squares. Let me see what you can see. I think we're in frame. So this is the front of the pouch, and then this is the part of the pouch that will flip over. So it's good to sort of work out how you want your tea towel to be folded. So I want my pockets to be reasonably large. I think I can probably, I think that's probably pretty good. And then I'll probably have this come down something like that. It just needs to be enough of a size that I can put a little scrappy heart on the back as well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that as a dimension. Next thing I will want to do is just work out where my middle is and maybe just put a bit of a temporary crease. We'll be giving it a really good iron anyway, but that will just help me as I come to arrange my triangles. So then we need to work out where we want to put our triangles. Something I have discovered, because I'm using a pink sort of surface, is I try not to put these sort of pinks on the very outside. So I've used some of my pinky pinks in the middle. So that's just a consideration. So the first thing you will want to do, probably I think, is just work out. You're going to have the top of your heart sort of coming up like that, and then below that we're going to have a square. So I think I'll actually start with this square here. Let me also just lay my prototype next to it. So I've got even a bit more space here, I think. So yeah, if I start up there, I think that will work pretty well. Unless I want to just come down. No, I think that folds. I think that's enough actually. And so then my heart would come down to the bottom about there. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. We'll give that a go. So if that's there, I'm just thinking it'll be easier to line up with my sort of fold line, which I'm just going to reinforce. Just reinforce that down there, give it an extra little bit of foldage. I was going to have that. I'll just put it that direction even though it's not going to go down like that, whilst I then lay down my first piece. And so this has the steamer seam adhesive on it, so it is going to be that usual problem that I have of just getting it started. I have a little container where I can put my scraps. And so then here I'm going to want to work out where I want to put my first piece, which I think, keeping it in line with the center, this one's just helping me know how far down from the top I want to be. And then I'm going to put another piece over this way. And so I'm just trying to kind of mix up the patterns and the colours. Although the great thing with the charm squares is that they are all actually colour coordinated, which works quite well, and sort of pattern coordinated. So I think, like with my first one, I don't think I sort of put them quite as nested as I'd like them to be, although that's fine because I am going to be slow stitching over it. So I'm just going to nest these ones a little bit more as I put them on. So I hope you're having a lovely day or a lovely evening. It was another warm day here. Now I can see that there's a little bit of the adhesive just hanging around there, and there's a little bit of blue probably from another piece. So I'm just going to gently trim that off. So this next step, I just want to show you something on this one. If you have a look at this one, you can see that on this side, we've got a square there. On this side, we've got something that looks more like an envelope upside down, in that it doesn't form a square across that way. So it's kind of thinking about which way you want your pieces to be orientating. So the way that I have done it here will be more similar to this, won't it? So it's just then whether I do this whole row now similar to this, or yeah, it's just thinking about what shapes you want to appear, or do you want it to be totally random as I did it here? So if I wanted a shape like that, then I would have actually had to orientate my piece coming across like this. And I still actually can do that. So let me do that just to show you as well how you can, while they've still got the adhesive, you can move them around. Oops. Obviously don't. So yes, if I want that housey type effect, not a house, but really a square effect, then I will want to do it like that, and then I'll want to do that on the other side as well. So what piece do I want next? Let's put this over to that side. So you can probably draw yourself out also the pattern that you want, or because if you're using the steamer seam, you can definitely move it around as you go as well, which is good. So again, I'll just make sure I'm lining up this piece to this side. And then we need to, oh no, that's right. So over here we are going to have another piece out at the edge. Just forgetting that. It's almost going to start coming down. I did play with a design where you do come down a bit more sharply, but it didn't look as nice of a heart. There we are there. And we put one of these here. Well, I suppose I don't need to do that side just yet. Now, coming down here, what shape do I want? So if that's formed a boxy sort of shape, I can probably do another box in the center here, I think. Should have one of these browns probably. What else have I got? Maybe this one. Or maybe I'll try one of those, yeah. Okay, and then we're just going to have a piece coming down like that, down there. Not that one, because it's too samey. This one could be nice, I think. Or do we go blue? Or do we go that brown? Maybe the brown. The taupe. So I generated a lot of discussion about Bob's your uncle phrase from the last video. Everyone seemed to be owning it, the Brits, the New Zealanders, the Australians. And so it seems to have a few potential possible meanings. One of them is it might go back to the 1880s, I think it was, where a politician employed their nephew or appointed their nephew, and so it was sort of a Bob's your uncle. And then it appeared in a song title in the 1920s, which makes people think that maybe it didn't really come into sort of popular use until later in the 1920s, and then in the 1930s is when it became apparently a more common phrase here in Australia, and that's because there were a lot of people called Robert or shortened to Rob or Bob. So how interesting is that? I find it interesting. And so we never quite know. Sometimes it can be a bit of a mystery how words and phrases evolve, but I love it. And I love when people get excited about history. It's very cool history and origins and theories. Okay, so then let's move over to this side over here and let's have a think about what we want to do. So I think, sorry, that was my belly making a yummy dinner digestion noise. We had a very simple dinner tonight. I got some roast chicken and made some chicken and cucumber sandwiches with lots of lovely mayo. And then we had a bit of leftover pumpkin pasta, although really we'd eaten the pasta last night, so it was just the leftover. But it's that lovely burnt butter pumpkin, so it was very delicious. So yes, I'm going to make another square in the middle here. So I've got a square there, square here, coming down the sides. Yep, I like that it's a bit more. I hope my friend that I'm going to send this to will also like it in this form. And I don't mind the scrappy one for me. In fact, I like the scrappy one for me. I like having little records of things that I learn as I go along. And that's what looking back at our work can teach us. And you have those moments where you're like, ah, yes, that's when I discovered to think about the shapes you're forming. But as I say, both are equally fine, but I do like to share those little insights that I have when I'm prototyping something. That one up there, or this one. I've actually got a few. Maybe we'll put a pinky one over here. Yes. Why not? And so yeah, you can see we've got a square there. Have I done this the right direction now? Yes, I think I have. I think when I was doing this one, I just sort of thought there was only one kind of direction that things could go, or I wasn't really even thinking about that actually. I was just trying to make sure all my colours got nice separation, and then let's have a nice blue. Yeah. And you could obviously get even more sort of ordered in your fabric selection so that you kind of were planning out exactly where all your fabrics would go. But I'm pretty happy with, yeah, just trying to make sure I'm distributing all the colours around. Actually, I might need to be, these are somewhat similar, so I think I'll use that one over there. So again, we've got another nice square formed up here. Sometimes the corners just don't want to start off, so you can always just pop to another corner if that's the case. That one thought it was starting and then it just went in. There we go. Get rid of these little scraps. So we're coming over here. That one seems marginally bigger than the other piece. Okay, get rid of those bits. Then let's just have a think about what we're going to put where. So we could have, are we happy with that as our order? Or do we want this one to go down here and that one to go there? Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that actually. So I'll put this one, yeah, no, that one's stuck down, isn't it? Yes. And if you are an EPP fan, you could definitely, English paper piecing fan, you could definitely do the same shape using your English paper piecing techniques. And I'm sure I'm not the first person to come up with yeah, making a heart out of triangles. It's just something that I just did using my charm squares, but I'm sure there are patterns out there. But you know, I'm not really one for following patterns. I'm more of a experiment and see. Choose your own adventure and then share it. So you might just move that over, and that's what I do love about the steamer seam, is it just gives you that flexibility just to get things looking the way you want. Now let's just make sure you can see everything on camera. Yes. So at this point, what I would then go and do, once I was happy that I had my design looking the way I want my design to look, nothing kind of out of balance, at that point I would then go and I press it again with a hot iron. And when I had done that, I would then get the steam on and give it a really good steam from both the front and the immediate back of it. And I would do the same when I then went and laid out my mini heart on the back. So let me just grab out some of those pieces, which are also in with my my scraps. So these mini pieces, which I have used for the heart that I did on the back, this one here, they are a portion of a charm square as well. So I've taken a half, folded in half, made a half piece, and then I have folded that in half and made a quarter piece, and then I have folded that in half and made a 1/8 piece, and that's what these ones are. So that makes the heart of that size. And so I'll tell you what that sized heart is. It's about a 13 centimetre heart that makes, whereas, oops, and I'm blowing bits and pieces all over the place, which won't help later on when I want to go and make another heart. This one is about 25.5 centimetres. And that's about 24 centimetres across. Should it be exactly the same way dimensions across them? No. My little maths brain is struggling to work out if it should be the same dimensions both directions. I don't think so. Let me just remeasure it for you. So from top to bottom, yeah, about 26. From side to side, nope, about 25. So it's just slightly more coming down, unless I am just bodging up my measurements. So because I still need to finish the other heart, do the smaller heart, but again it's that same method. Again, you can see on this one that I have done it the scrappy style. So we have a square here, we then have something that looks like a house shape, then we've got ones that are arranged in different directions. So that one forms a square, that doesn't form a square up there. So again, I just think both are lovely, but if you do like more symmetry and more pattern, then this one may appeal to you. If you like scrappy, this one and this one may appeal. So I'll put this one aside because that will need all its ironing, and I don't want to have a hot iron in here tonight. It would be way too hot for me with that. So what I want to now show you is how you can do some decorative stitching. After that, I'll show you how you can then stitch the pouch together, and it's a really simple process. I probably won't stitch the whole pouch together with you because I will want to finish off the decorative stitching on this one. So I might bring you down, one, so I can see what you can see, and two, so it just makes it a bit easier for you to see. And I'm going to use some of this vintage cotton, but it's a really nice strong one. Not that it actually has to be, sorry, and we've got little charm squares all around. And let's grab a needle. And so something that I have learned about the steamer seam along the way as well is people say give it a really good steam to do that final adhesion, the permanent adhesion, also because it helps to take away some of the temporary adhesive apparently when you give it a really, really good steaming. They say steam it more than you think it needs. So that is the tip, the hot tip. Not sure if this is quite a small-eyed needle. And the thread's quite a thick one, so I might even just switch it up a bit, use this one. And then we'll put a knottity knot in. And so I'm going to use this stitch, and I was meaning to check before I came on exactly what it's called. Can't remember if it's a Y stitch or a fly stitch, I forget. I should know because I did the dictionary of stitches, but no. And actually I'll probably be able to do it flat on the table if I do it the sort of not the stab method, but the other method. So we're going to come down, we're going to put the thread underneath, and we're going to make a V shape, and then we're going to take our tail down and make a Y shape, but at the same time I'm going to then pop up to start the next V. So it's going to give us tail down, and then I'm going to do the same again, pop down to where the bottom of that downward Y bit is, and catch the thread, and then pop down to make another tail, bring my needle up where I'll start the next V, and then go over to the other side and bring my needle back down towards the bottom where the Y is. Make sure the thread is underneath my needle, which will make a loop, and then that will form the V. And then we come down and make another Y tail. Bring it out, go over to the other side, and then pop down to where the bottom of the Y is. Make sure our thread is under our needle and continue on that way. So I'm planning to launch my little Nana's Travelling Rick-Rack collaboration this weekend, I think. I'll do the video for that because I've got my first lot of goodies ready to start sending out. So stay tuned. And it's a way to say thank you to those that have been so supportive of of my adventures in creating, and I just want to also celebrate my beautiful Nana, who is dearly missed but still very much remembered. I always get I tend to find I get bigger when I'm doing this this stitch. I think I started out quite small at the other end, and then I've just got larger and larger, but I actually don't mind that. Again, it's part of that scrappy slow stitch charm, I reckon. So again, always making sure your thread is underneath your needle. And yeah, if you ever do get any gumminess on your needle, it does mean you probably haven't given it enough of the steamer seam, enough of a steam. And so you can always give it another steam, but you can also then just clean your needle. Either just give it a wipe with a piece of scrap linen or scrap fabric, or you can, I think you can use like some hand sanitizer or something, and that will just clean off any residue. I guess some rubbing alcohol or something similar. My tail stuck. What's happened here? Why is that not pulling through? What have we done there? There we go. So that's to the end there, so we can take that through, or we can continue. Actually, I'll show you how you would then, if you wanted to continue down here, I'd suggest kind of secure that Y down, and then I would start over here and come down, make your Y. And so this will be on the fold, but I don't think that's a problem if it comes a little bit over to the other side. We can see how it looks in a moment. And again, you could do all different stitches all around. You could do crosses if you wanted this to look like little kisses. Oops, what have I done there? Nope, don't need to be going under my thread there. I need to go over to the other side first. Good thing with this stitch is you know straight away if you've done something a bit bodgy. In fact, I've gone a bit crooked there as well, so we'll just redo that last stitch. Redo the Y. And so apparently with the steamer seam you can wash it. You can it's quite sturdy once you've done that final steam iron. It is permanent. I haven't done any research to see like how many years it lasts. Does it eventually start to break down like you might think a glue might break down? Doesn't really worry me, because then I'd imagine if someone had my pieces and they start to get some fragments of my pieces. It's all just part of the cycle. And particularly if I've added stitches like this, it's not going to actually fall apart. the other good thing about adding a bit of slow stitching detail. It also works to hold your pieces down. And yeah, you could definitely use Yoo-hoo glue if you wanted to, rather than the steamer seam. Get a similar sort of, or whatever sort of stick glue you use, or a fabric glue. You don't have to get steamer seam. I just tend to find that I use what I've got out and about in my craft room. So you can see I do tend to go bigger as I go down. Mine does look more like a leaf as I do it. It's quite funny indeed. But you could just do like a nice little running stitch around each of your triangles as well. That would be quite sweet too. I'll just finish this bit off here. This way. And then I'll just take it to the back and we can have a little looky look. Got threads caught there. And let's just pull it through. Like that, tie it off. Again, this will all be sort of enclosed in the pouch when it gets sewn together. So that's what it looks like, and yeah, it looks quite nice, I think, even on the little fold, and that will actually end up inside the pocket anyway, and we'll be going over and doing some stitching. So yeah, no problem at all to have your stitching on the fold. So yeah, I'll definitely do that because it feels nice and textural, and I'm not worried about bigger and smaller. Again, you do you. If you like it all perfectly stitched. Or, as I say, go around, you could do some crosses along, you could do some French knots along, you could do just some nice little running stitches around each of the triangles, or you could, if you had the nice square shape in the centre, you could do a running stitch around the outside of that, around the outside of that, at the outside of that. You could do some cantha stitching down here. So yeah, it just give you different options. But I think definitely on this one, I'm going to continue with this this stitch, which is almost like a heart stitched together, which I think sometimes our hearts are, aren't they? They're a combination of all our experiences. So when you're happy that you've done whatever stitching you want to do on this and whatever stitching on this, you could also do, before you sew your pouch together, another option is you can do some cantha stitching, so running stitch, and you might want to come all the way across and do it all the way over your hearts, or you might just want to do it around your heart, and you could do it across ways, you could do it coming down ways, you could do a mix of both. I'm probably not going to do that because I'm happy that my pouch the fabric sort of sits quite well against each other, so I don't think it needs that to bring it together, but just wanted to give you that option. So next up, we just need to work out exactly where we want our pouch to sort of fold up and just give it as best of a straight. And being a tea towel, it's probably not like precision measured, so I even noticed here, like, it doesn't totally meet up, but when I sew it together, I'll just sew it so it is meeting at this bottom section, and then if it's got a tiny bit of extra sort of puff in the foldy bit, that doesn't worry me at all. So first step would be just to, if you've got some clips or something, would be probably just to clip it and hold it where you want it to be so that it doesn't kind of move during stitching. Again, I'm not too worried here because we're going to actually have a pouch in here and a pouch in here. So there's going to be two pouches, which will be quite handy, I think. I was thinking as well, and this is just an option, that if you wanted to have a pouch that was maybe a bit more sort of inset, so it does actually, so that you can tell there's two pouches there. You could do a little flip of the corner over, but I think I am going to probably just, yeah, make both my pouches come up to the same height. And then you'll just want to have a think about what sort of thread you'd like to use. You could use something brighter. I was having a look at this blue because the design has both pinks and blues in it. But I think I will probably just use, and I thought, oh yeah, I also had this one if I wanted a bit more brightness, but I don't think I do. I think I'll just use this, which seems to be, it's a strong thread and it seems to be a pretty good match for the piece as well. So what did I do? I think I left my needle on my surface, but I'm not sure now on it. Is it? Yep, it's over here, I think. Or is that a different one? The cicadas are singing again. I think one of my friends was just posting the other day in the UK that they've, I think the first of their bulbs have come out and they were just planting other bulbs as well. So how exciting. It's getting to that time of year. So we'll probably, yeah, I think I'll stitch this side first because we just need to stitch this. This doesn't need stitching, and that's the advantage of a tea towel because you've already got some finished edges that we will need to stitch together as well. And then I'm also proposing to stitch around here. One option, and I have done this with some of my pouches, is left this top bit open so that if you're in the car or something, you can just easily stick things in without having to open your pouch up and put things in. On this one, I think I will sew all the way around the edge here too. And you can go even around this edge if you want it to look the same, even though you don't need to sew this because it's actually a fold. So I'll just show you essentially just, I'm thinking an overcast stitch, or you could do a blanket stitch, but I think I'll probably just do an overcast. And so again, I'll just line my sort of bits of fabric semi up. And because it's going to have like a project in the pouch anyway, it doesn't really matter too much if it's not 100% super duper lined up. And because you're going to be going through 4 layers of fabric, it may be a tiny bit tricky. But yeah, I think probably just a regular overcast stitch is fine because it's not, unless you're wanting to make it a decorative piece on the stitches on the side, then you might want to use something like a blanket stitch, but this is really just to hold the pouch closed. So I do just want to make sure I'm getting a nice, good, strong stitch in place so it doesn't pop out later on. So I'll just show you a little bit of this. We won't do the whole piece because I am going to keep stitching into it. And what I might do actually, so that's essentially like how you do the overcast stitch. You're just going through all the layers. You're not looping your thread under the needle or anything, even though you tried to just at that point. And it's just creating, so each time you're coming from the same side, you can go from the bottom through to the other side, but then just keep going in that same direction for each of the stitches. And you keep going until you get to the top here. Remember, leave your pockets open. You don't want to sew those closed if you're making a pouch. But I'll just show you if you wanted to do a blanket stitch. I'll actually come up from here and just show you that. It's always a bit hard to get started. So with a blanket stitch, you do want to catch your stitch, catch your thread. This takes me a moment to get started with my blanket stitch. Oops. So again, work out which way you're coming through each time. And what you can see is that you start to get, I'll do a few more just so you can properly see. Just hold all my, need to kind of line up my pieces of edge as well. So coming through from the bottom, you're just moving along an equal distance each time and looping your thread around your stitch. And what it gives you is a stitch that's running somewhat along the edges, although it's actually really and doesn't end up looking that much different than the overcast stitch I was doing, because you've kind of got this thickness. So I do think probably the overcast is the better bet, and then you're not having to worry about that looping or anything like that. So I would just suggest a whip or sort of overcasting stitch. And so yeah, I would do that up this side and then knot it off, up this side, knot it off, and you can always secrete the knots back into your fabric. And then I would do that around here, and I probably would do it on this side even though it doesn't need it. So I'd just be again giving that sort of decorativeness to it. And then you could have a think about whether you wanted to add any other embellishments or laces. You could even use a doily or something and put a lovely little pocket in. I was even thinking I might put this lovely vintage linen that I got into the pouch as a gift for my friend. But something like this, again, you could add something like this to your piece. I love these pieces. They come with their own napkin, and it pops into the little placemat. So I got a few of those recently, but I don't think it actually needs anything because I do have the decorative heart on the back and on the front as well. And yeah, don't worry if any of the little edges, it may be that I just didn't adhere that down, or maybe a bit of the adhesive never got onto that little edge, and that's where the stitching is really going to come into play. So I hope that's given you some ideas. I'm definitely going to be playing with more sort of seam arrangements for my slow stitching, and I will chat to you soon. Bye everyone.